Hi, and welcome to Cedar Mini. We are a mum and bub duo documenting our creative play and art journey together. We show you simple and budget-friendly ideas to foster yours and your child's imagination. Come and see what we're making today. Today on Cedar Mini, we are making texture paintings. For this project, you will need some paints. What I have here are just cheap $3 Kmart paints. What I have here are a set of brushes that, again, I have bought from Kmart. The first sponge has more of a coarse texture and is probably my favorite. The second sponge is a lot smoother and probably creates more of a stamping effect. The last two are quite similar and actually resembles more of your typical dishwashing sponge. I also used a disposable fork to spread our paints on our Kmart container lids that we are using as our paint palettes. And now for the fun part. As you can see, I've set up the paints on our painting palette and preloaded the sponges with some paint. I offer Minnie some of the sponges, but also allow him to just explore by himself. And of all the days I decide to film, Minnie decides to use his fingers instead of using the sponges, which he normally does. And after resetting our crumpled paper a few times, he finally gets some paint on it. Minnie kept throwing the sponges on the floor, so after a few paintings, we agreed that it was time for cleanup. Part of the fun of this experience is allowing Minnie to feel all the components of this activity. He loved squishing the sponges, he crumpled the paper, felt the cool and somewhat slimy paint in his hands, and a number of times attempted to eat the paint as well. I mean, taste is sensory, right? Here are Minnie's texture paintings. For my part of our creative play, I decided to create a tessellation of Minnie's paintings. Basically, I would cut identical shapes from Minnie's paintings and compose them in a tiled pattern. I already had a frame that I had bought from Kmart ages ago, so I used the specified display measurements and drew out the area I needed on a drawing pad. After, I used a steel ruler, X-Acto knife, and a self-healing cutting mat to make my shapes. To make it easy, I decided to go with squares. It is ideal that you use a steel ruler, a straight edge, so that your blade doesn't cut into a plastic ruler. I I bought my cutting mat and ruler from Riot Art Store, and my cutting blade was from my favorite budget resource shop, Kmart. I make rough measurements on my cutting mat and begin cutting the sheets onto strips and then squares. Once I finish, I lay out the squares on the mat to take a look at the general feel of the tiles I will be working with. I pick and choose which ones I like best and which ones I think will work together, and then begin my composition. I think I played around with the tiles for 15 to 20 minutes. That was honestly my favorite part of the activity. It was just so relaxing and therapeutic. I place my tiles on my drawing pad and begin gluing the tiles together, leaving no gaps in between, except for the ones made by uneven shape cutting. Tip: make sure you glue your tiles really flat to avoid having air bubbles like the ones I've made on ours. This was my first little art play since my child started crawling, now walking, and I loved every minute of it, even the ones where I frantically glued pieces because I thought my child was about to wake up. And voila, our final product. Comment below or give us a like if you've enjoyed our process as well as our final product. Minnie and I sure did. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you again next time on Cedar Mini. Follow us on Instagram and our WordPress blog at Cedar Mini.